Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Thursday, it's October 9th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. Let's take a quick look at our daily chart again, as we normally do, starting off our uh, chart lesson. But notice we made a new high, a new low. We did close down. We made an all-time new high. We made a higher low, so we're still trending higher here. We did have a lower high though. I mean, a lower close though. So um, does that mean we're done to the upside? No, we could still trade higher tomorrow. We're just getting up here in new territory. It seems like every time we do, we tend to get a sell off of some kind, even though, like here, notice we pulled back, but we still push forward. So can we come back to, can we turn lower again tomorrow? Yes, by all means, but we close considerably off the lows. I would think we're probably going to push higher. We'll have to see. Um, we're almost working sideways to slightly up here, but we're still making higher highs and higher lows on each bar. And so we're still in an uptrend, even though this was a somewhat bearish day today. We had a pretty good sell-off, two legs down. So is that all we'll get? I don't know. We'll just have to see what tomorrow brings. But let's flip over there to the 2000 tick chart so you can see what it looks like on that chart and what I'm talking about with the two legs down. And we'll go through the trades. It was another good trading day. Some good setups. I had at least one person send me. Um, Actually, I had a couple people send me an email saying they had a really great trading day that seemed like a good trading day, and I agree. It was, you get those days. I talked about it before. Last few days, we had one trading day in there where it just seemed like a difficult day to trade, and it's because it was. And since then, we've had a couple of really good trading days, and I consider today was a pretty good trading day as well. But let's flip over to the 2000 tick chart, and we'll go from there. Okay, here's this chart, and you can see what we had here was we had this spike down, and then we went into a channel, and we broke out of that channel well after 2:30. Well, I shouldn't say well after 2:30, but just after 2:30. We traded outside of that. We never made a new low, but we may not ever make one. So, but notice what we had here. We had this first leg down, and then we had a two-legged correction followed by another leg down that was much more. It took a little longer to get down there, and we actually ended up overselling it a little bit. But you can see most of the support was right along that measured move, and then we finally bounced from there. Um, once the once we had a break here and two legs down, we also had another bounce, and that's what led to this channel down here, in my opinion. So um, maybe we had a close outside here and a new low. That's very possible. I think this has shifted a little since I originally had. I think I had it like this right here, and I don't believe I didn't see a break and a new low. That's the way I didn't read it as a break and new low. I just read it as we didn't quite get to the lows and we bounced, but we never did make a new low in my opinion. So, but I could be wrong. It might be more like this, and we actually did have a close outside at a new low. So you could read that either way. Doesn't matter because we didn't get the break until into the 2:30 hour, so you weren't going to take any trades after that anyway. And before that, we're really in an uptrend, working back to the trend line. So I don't think it changes anything, no matter how you read that. And occasionally, I'll show you my trend channel, and somebody else will send me theirs, and it might be slightly different. As long as you get to the same conclusion, it doesn't matter if you see it exactly like me. Sometimes there's more than one way to see it. Sometimes you could draw the trend channel slightly different. So as long as you came to the right conclusion or the same conclusion as me, don't worry if your chart looks a little bit different. It doesn't have to be exact. People get hung up on that and they think my chart's got to look exactly. It should look close. Don't get me wrong. And in a lot of cases, when it's pretty straightforward, it should look almost exactly like mine, but it doesn't have to always look exactly like my chart, especially if it's choppy and um, like this. I mean, your chart might look slightly different. As long as you get to the right conclusion and your chart looks really similar, you're probably going to be fine. So just keep that in mind. But let's start with the chart here. We started off in this range, clear range, um, obvious range. You can see prices working the midline in there. And notice we were working up here, had a close outside, a couple of swings, and it took a few minutes to get to that swing high there. There's um, a news item here that I marked off just so I wouldn't forget to talk about it. But it's a medium, and it's a Fed chair speaking, so it doesn't really amount to much. I wouldn't worry too much about it, but I marked it off there just so I'd remember to talk about it. Sometimes I forget. Um, but once we broke higher here, once we had our break and a couple of swings to a new high, you may trade this as a failed breakout. You're better off to wait on a lower high. But there's reasons to consider taking that far away from the EMA, and because most breakouts are going to fail, and you can see that one did it. It got back in the range again before it broke lower, and then it breaks here lower and fails. Unfortunately, you don't really get a chance to go long, but you come back to the trend line and you get a first entry, then it tries to go higher, and you get a second entry, and all of this confirms the trend line on the way down. So you got to be careful going short here, but with that much room back to the original low and only having a double bottom there previously, I think you have to take that second entry. I forget how much room is actually there. As you can see, there's only a point there, so that could have scared some of you away, and if so, there's reason to be concerned about that, but I think it was worth taking. At the very least, I'm going to mark that green just because it does confirm the trend line. I don't think there's a break there yet or anything. In fact, I think that confirms the trend line perfectly there. And you can see everything closed inside. It's a second entry short. This actually has it's not a convincing close outside, but it does get a close outside, a new high, and everything closes back inside this main trend line. So this looks like the dominant pattern. We should have taken on off there if this was going to be a range, and it didn't, and it just dropped lower. So I like going short there. Quick, easy. If you catch this one, and you might have, you got to be ready to get in that. I actually took a trade today. I'll talk about it when we get to it. But I used this one that puts the entry order in there automatically as soon as the bar closes, and sometimes that'll help you get into these. So these tools they're available if you're a premium member. You can download them now, and they are available on the inside the premium section. So just keep that in mind. There's no charge for them if you're other than being a premium member. So if you're a premium member, they're free, and you can download them pretty much anytime. I don't support them. I'm not going to help you install them. I'm not going to help you if you're having problems. I don't have time nor the inclination or the ability to do that. So don't email me for help with them. We do have something, a thread going in the forum where the actual authors that wrote these programs can promise they would help. So they'll be probably willing to help you, and somebody else might can help you, and even I might respond in that thread, but just don't email me about them, please. Any of our tools that we offer for free, I don't support them. So if I can help you, it'll be in the forum or somebody in the forum will, but please don't email me with them because I just don't. You'd be shocked how many emails I get. It'll be a full-time job of me trying to support these things. So it's not that I don't want to help you with it. I just don't have the time. And guaranteed there'll be a handful of people every week that need some kind of help with them. Seems like it's always the case. So for that reason, I offer them to you free, but I do not support them. So anyway, let's get back to the chart lesson. So clear second entry, and if you can catch that one, that's probably all you need for the day. I mean, you get a pretty nice run down before you get any kind of real bounce here. And this is actually a little lower here. And when it does bounce, it just comes right back to the trend line, and there's no entry there. It's just a first entry. And then finally you get a break here, close outside, move to a new high. That's a second entry short. You got a new high. I like going short on that one. Then you get then you make a double bottom, so that's another new low. Then you get another second entry here, and it's basically a triple test across there. I marked it green only because the signal bar is not perfect. Does that close in the lower 1/3? Maybe it's close. If you took that, I wouldn't have any problem with it. I did mark it green just simply because it doesn't have, um, because the signal bar is a little bit questionable. It's still bearish. It's still a second entry. It's still a triple test. We still need to make a new low. You're expecting prices to go lower. So there's reasons to like that trade. Runs down. That's just a first entry. Now this is a failure here. The problem was it was outside the trend line. It is a second entry too, and it's not a perfect signal. If you had a bearish signal bar, by all means go short there. I think you'd be okay. Then you get a lower high. But I didn't. I think this one was dangerous because here is your measured move based on the width of that range, and so I was looking for a possible bounce here. If you'd have taken this bounce, you'd have been able to scalp out. But I think you needed to wait on a higher low, and you got one here, but I don't think you got a good enough setup. It looks too sideways, congested. There's not that bar with no body, so it's technically not congestion, but there's not much room back to the trend line, and it could turn down right off that trend line. So for that reason, I don't think you could enter. You could start picking a bottom yet. Then we run down, and notice that where we got the break there, there's two measured legs down, and then it reverses. But we did find some support here first. I thought maybe we might get a triple bottom right here, and that signal bar is close to being close enough. If it would have broke above there, I might have gone long there. But it doesn't, so it's irrelevant, and it drops on down, and this turns out to be the lower side of the trend channel line. And it bounces, just a first entry, and then another first entry here, but this is a reversal, and you're looking for a possible reversal, and it's right at the key entry point. So a break above that bar, that it would be the green bar. Your safety stop would have to go one tick below this bar, but your entry would be one tick above that little 2-bar matching high. And if it breaks above that, you're probably going to at least get a scalp. So I mark that as a possibility. You know, most of you shouldn't be trading that anyway, but there are some that are good enough to trade the reversals and the failures. So if that's the case, by all means, take them. We run on up here, and we finally get a break, and you get a first entry, and then you pull back here, and notice it's two legs back to the key entry point. You get a break of the correction channel and a new low. It bounces. You really get a little failed break lower there because it looks like we're working sideways, and it closes back inside. I like going long there, and you're still expecting prices to make a new high. They don't quite do it on the first pullback. If you'd had a good enough signal bar here without being so close that I'd have marked that as a long too, because now there's probably a really good chance you're going to break and run to a new high here, because that's a pretty good move up. So you'd expect to retest. You expect it to at least test it multiple times. I did mark this one green because you're better off to wait on the lower high, which comes here. And if you took either one of those, man, that's a nice move down. If you took this one and you didn't re-enter here, you probably got stopped out at break even. And so you wouldn't have got a runner. But if you took this one, you probably get a runner. Boom, off it goes. And there is a reversal here, but you can't go short into that support right there. So I don't think you want to take that. And the rest of these are all first entries. And then finally you get a break here. And you get a first entry, second entry, but that's too congested. Just sit tight. And it does run back up to the trend line here. Notice you get a close outside new high. And I think you can count that pretty much as a second entry. This just looks like congestion. So you're working up, first entry, second entry. Either way, you still got a close outside a new high and a big bearish bar right at the key entry point. So, and again, I think the trend line ran across here, not necessarily a close outside. Again, it doesn't really matter. It's the same setup either way. You still want to go short there. I did mark it green because I think you're better off to wait on the lower high. And you even get a lower high here, but by the time it closed, it's right into the EMA. It either needs to close on the other side or close far enough away that you got room to get out, because it can bounce that EMA. And you can see how much support we got there. It never would have stopped you out, but still you don't want to risk that. And finally you get a triple test here, but again, you got to go short too far down here in my opinion, so I didn't like it. but it runs up and get a close outside new high, and that's a first entry. And then you get a second entry here, but it looks a little congested. But then it comes back and it tests the trend line again. So now you got at least a quadruple test, and you get another bearish bar, and this one's right off the key entry point. This one was a little lower, even though you came off here. So you might, if you took this one, you're going to get stopped out. But if you wait till this one, now you've tried to go higher 3 times after the break. And so I went back and forth about whether this one should be green or not, but I liked it in real time, so I marked it. And again, it takes a minute, but it does work on down. Comes back here, and this you get a close outside a new high, and it turns down right there again, but that signal bar is not good enough. That turns out to be a really good move. Then we're working up. You get a break, and to me, this just looks like we turned back down. Couple of legs down. You've already got your close outside, so you got to be careful going short, and you might be looking for a reversal here. This one was really tempting, but this is just so congested and sideways. This looks like a little failed break lower, and you're still a ways from the EMA, but you might argue for that to be green, but because we did meet our measured move too, and notice how it closed back inside that. But you might take that, but I think you're better off to wait on a higher low, and you never get it. In fact, you get a second entry short right here and a lower high, but it looks a little sideways. It's right there where we're looking for a possible bounce anyway. You even get a second entry here, but you haven't made a new low yet. Well, actually you have, but you might get that next measured leg down, and you got to be careful with that yet. So you need a triple test or something, and you actually do get a triple test here, but again, now you're inside this channel working up, and you're expecting a reversal anytime, and so I just think it's too dangerous to go short there. Again, it would have worked, but I think you have to hold off. And then notice what happens. This looks a lot like a triple test. You make a little lower low here. This is more of a double bottom. This is a little higher, but we've tried to go lower right in that area 3 times. And this is a first entry, second entry. And notice that we already had that leg down, and the big thing was the measured move here. And so I like, again, you probably want to wait on the higher low, but I liked risking that one if you want to try to catch the bottom, because that might be it right there. It didn't turn out to be, but you might risk that. Okay, I had a slight interruption. I think we were talking about this trade, being able to treat this. I mean, you really got a failed break lower here. You've had your break and at least a couple of legs down, and then you have these final 2 legs down, and they look almost like measured moves. I didn't measure them, but they're probably going to be close. You can see they're real close. And then we bounce. Maybe you take that trade. It's a second entry too. Notice the new swing high, first entry, second entry. There's a high or low here. I didn't quite like this signal bar. It's a possibility as well. I mean, maybe you argue that it's green. It's definitely a higher low. But notice you're moving up, and then you get a close outside on this channel working up, and you get a first entry and then a second entry. I like going long there if it breaks higher. Nice move back up. Makes a new high, and then it turns down. I don't see any chance to get short here. This one's tempting, but it doesn't break above it, and then you make a triple test there and get this big, I mean, that's definitely rejection right there. And now you've easily got a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple test. I like going long there. You do get a possible high or low here, but no setup. You might even look at this as a reversal, but if it had been on the other side of the EMA, I'd say maybe take this reversal, and you could still argue for it. I think you're better off to wait, because it looks like we got a channel going here, or a range going here, and this is right in the middle of the range. So, um, I mean, it wasn't quite obvious until when we made this high and then made another one. It's starting to feel like, hey, maybe we've got a range going on here. So you better be careful trying to get long too close to the highs. They're in the middle of the range. But again, you may take that trade. Um, then you get a close outside new high and it turns down 1, 2, 3, like the fourth time. Nice bearish signal bar. I like going short there. Of course, you get a break. And it tries to go lower 3 times and fails. If you'd had a good signal bar here on this triple test, maybe you go long there, but you don't get it. And this heads higher, and you actually get a failed break higher here. But you're still in this channel, so there's no short or anything yet. And then you get the close outside, move to a new high, and you're just chopping sideways into 230. And that's going to do it for the day. So we did continue to go higher from there. And it looks like now we've opened at 5 and we're heading higher again. So we'll see what tomorrow brings, but definitely a spike and channel down. Was this a close outside? I don't know. I didn't play it as one. You can see right there, and then this still turns down off of it too, but then you get the break. So in my opinion, I don't think there was a break there, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't change anything. So still plays out pretty much the same. But there it is. Nice trading day. Monday is Columbus Day, but believe it or not, I checked and the market is not closed for Columbus Day. So even though most of your banks and your government stuff is going to be closed, the market will be trading. So we'll be back Monday to do our regular Monday, and yeah. So I hope everybody has a great weekend. I did put up the trade I talked about. If you get a chance, take a look at that trade. Trade example, it was this one right here that I posted, and it's out there. It should be already be available. And rather than post them both late in the evening, where you had to spend 2 hours watching part of it watching a trade, and then another part looking at the chart lesson, I tried to give you plenty of time to watch the trade this afternoon, and then still be able to look at the chart lesson this evening. So. Anyway, I hope you had a good trading day. I hope you had a good week. We did have a day in there that wasn't the greatest, but I think the last 2 days kind of made up for it. So, and that's the way the market goes. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it Monday. No chart lessons on Fridays. I'm done for today. This is Matt with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.